Good evening and welcome to episode 11 of Talking Trash. I'm James Langfield.
I'm Claire Abraham.
I'm Bohan.
I'm Tom.
And tonight we are Tom Gherkin, yes. Tom is the newest member of the Talking Trash family, if you will. And tonight, episode 11 of Talking Trash, our top 5 of the episode is our top 5 wrestlers we would like to see join the WWE. So wrestlers who are not currently in WWE, including NXT. So companies such as NJPW, Ring of Honor, Progress, ICW, all those independent shows. Guys from there.
Oh no! There's been a mix-up. Me and Bohan thought it was draft picks from NXT.
You did draft picks. We said we were going to do guys to join WWE.
Damn it!
Well, this is going to be...
Well, honestly, I don't know what to tell you guys, but I've got my list of wrestlers who are to join the company from outside. So, I mean, one of us did our homework properly.
No, you're banned now. We're the regulars here.
Now, I'm talking trash. I'm coming on. I'm talking trash. I'm taking names and talking trash. It's how it is.
Look at this motherfucker coming on here and turning heel in the first 30 seconds.
I came in here.
Says Andy the Bohan.
Hey, the shit talker's my card now.
Okay, so can you guys go with top 5 guys to join WWE?
I reckon I can do it. Do you think you can manage that?
My brain froze.
Top 5 guys you like that aren't in WWE.
What's that?
Right, we'll need to come to Claire last on these, but yes, we can go.
Okay, that's fine then. So we'll go with the top 5 guys to join WWE, and we'll kick things off with Tom. So Tom, who is your number 5 guy to join WWE?
Okay, well, you know, I've opened it with a bit of a cheat. I'm not going to lie to you. I have cheated to begin with. I've actually gone with a tag team as my number 5 pick.
That's fine. Tag teams are okay doing that.
Okay, that's good. Because I've done that again later on. My number 5 pick is 2 guys. They're from Detroit, Michigan. They had a decent run in back was TNA. Incredible match against British Invasion, Beer Money, Generation Me when they were there. Of course, I'm talking about Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns.
No, I like that pick. Any other reason why you feel that they made your number 5?
You know, MCMG as a team had their heyday in TNA, you know, maybe sort of 4 or 5 years ago now. At the time, big time, good wrestlers were now in NJPW. They're doing a job there. They've recently reformed, come back together as a team. And if you look at the E right now, honestly, you're looking at a company that's devoid of top tag team talent. Seriously, they're trying to bring it back, but they're missing the top talent. Bring in 2 guys like that, hot guys from outside the company, it'll bring eyes back on the brand. So that's why I've gone for them.
No, I can understand that. I did like the Motor City Machine Guns when they're in TNA. I still watch TNA from time to time, and they did a good job when they were there. It was a shame that they had the injuries that they did, and they weren't able to come back as a tag team within the kind of TNA sort of thing. So I can totally understand why they made your number 5. For me, I'm just getting up my notes, so I'll just get my number 5 here now. And yeah, my number 5, he had a short stint in NXT. Is a TNA mainstay. Was in NXT for a cup of coffee and went back to TNA. My number 5 is the Cowboy James Storm.
Oh.
For my opinion, the guy carries TNA on his back. He's been there since it started. Day 1, he's been there. I really enjoyed the work he did on TNA, both as a singles competitor and when he was with Bobby Roode as Beer Money. So, for my money, if they're going to bring James Storm in, have him in NXT for a bit. If they're ever struggling with what to do with Bobby Roode, then they've got a ready-made tag team. You can reform Beer Money on the main roster, and it's another tag team to add to a roster. They had a stellar run in WTNA. They always get over with the crowd. They're one of those teams that you can always get behind, and they work well as heels or faces. It's just a nice tag team to see working, and if they want to do that, that would be great, and so that's why they made my number 5.
Oh, I like that. I think that's a really good pick, man, to be honest with you. I think that as well. Both of our teams come back in. I mean, you can see if NCMG came in as heels as well, teaming up against Bobby Roode, the fact the crowd would be clamoring for Storm to come back to help him out.
I mean, it really was a shame that Cowboy James Storm turned up and got like such a short, brief run as well, because he's a man that honestly probably deserves it more than anyone. He's dragged his ass through the sport of pro wrestling with a dignity that's really surprising from someone who got saddled with Wildcat Chris Harris in the blindfold match. You would think that'd be something your career doesn't come back from. It's still like he's made it to this point. He deserved a bit better.
No, I agree with you. And hopefully, WWE might see the error of their ways and bring him back. But we'll come to Bohan. So Bohan, obviously this is kind of a bit of a swerve for you, but who would make your number 5 in the guys to join WWE?
So my number 5 is going to be a bit weird to some people, but like it came to me pretty quickly, and I could draw up a program for him very fast in my head, and it's Eddie Kingston. Weirdly, I honestly feel like Eddie Kingston is of the kind of group of guys like Kevin Owens that you look at and you go, he probably shouldn't have the look to get there, but he has the ability. He's got a back fist that sends people back in time at Shikara. What more do you want? I mean, like, I fucking love Eddie Kingston. He's a great talent. He does come off as a bit like sort of brash and rough around the edges at the best of times, but there's definitely a place for someone like him in a program in some form of tag team with the likes of Kevin Owens, for example. I reckon we need more guys like that to kind of break the standard of like the horrible fucking roid map that is Jinder Mahal and the kind of the awfulness that is Roman Reigns. I'm tired of looking at guys who they think should be big but don't have the ability. Kingston's the complete polar opposite of that.
I can't say I've not heard of him, but I can't say I've ever seen any of his work, so I can't give much of an opinion on Eddie Kingston. Tom, do you have any opinion on the guy?
Well, trained by Chris Hero, wasn't he, back at Shikara? So I think that tells you a lot about the kind of standard that he's got, just through the type of talent that he learned from in the past.
No, definitely. I mean, Chris Hero, I do like Chris Hero, or Cassius Ohno, as everyone knows him in NXT. Moving on from there, we've got Claire. Claire, with the swerve that it is, we're coming to you last. Who makes your number 5 as a guy to come to WWE?
I know you just sent my brain into an absolute panic there. And here's the issue with this for me. WWE have already been round with a big net and lifted a lot of guys I would have liked to have seen come in. But on the fly, my number 5 is Okada. Just, from what I've seen from New Japan in his matches, he never puts on a bad match. I really enjoy watching him. Always look forward to catching one of his matches. If we don't watch a ton of New Japan, but if there's a pay-per-view we're watching, and that's always a match I always look forward to, one of his. And I think we need a bit more strong style in the WWE. We've got Nakamura in there. I think Okada would be a good one to chuck into the mix to get a bit more of that style going on.
No, I can understand that. I do like the Japanese style wrestling. You've got Shinsuke, you've got Asuka, you've got Kairi Sane coming in. So more of the Japanese strong style would definitely be appreciated in my view. So I can totally understand why they made your list. Moving on from that, we're at our number 4s. I'm going to kick off my number 4, and it's a woman who is not in the business of professional wrestling right now, but there's been talks about her joining the professional wrestling world for the best part of a year or two now. And my number 4 is Ronda Rousey. The rumors are flying around that it's all but confirmed. She's training with Brian Kendrick. There's plans to bring her in and have a 4 horsewomen versus a 4 horsewomen match. But I think if she is utilized, and she could be a big draw for the WWE. You've got the cross branding of she was UFC, she's now come to the WWE. She's got a ready-made finish in her armbar. That armbar is brutal. Has pretty much won every match other than the ones that she's lost. It's a very nice armbar, and I think that utilized well, that would be a nice finish for her as well. And like I said, if we don't get a 4 horsewomen match versus a 4 horsewomen match come Survivor Series, or they could save that off to WrestleMania, I think WWE would have missed a trick there. So for that reason, Ronda Rousey makes my number 4.
Yeah, I think Rousey has a lot to give. As a fan of pro wrestling, I'm expecting big things from her as well. Like, as someone who's into the sport, you'd think she'll come into it and give it the whole, like, sort of college try. I feel like she's got the ability to do it. It's just so often, though, there are people who have the ability to do it and they just don't quite click with the sport. We'll wait and see what happens, but I can see why it's on your list. It's a solid pick.
I mean, I think this one is, I mean, this list is kind of fantasy. Who would we want brought in? And there's some people who might never come in as much as we would love to see them in there. I don't think Rousey's one of those people. I think she's definitely on her way in. And I think it'll be really interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it. I think, you know, that background she's got in MMA and the fact that she is a wrestling fan should sit her in good stead. I hope to see really good things from her. I think she'd be a really interesting addition to the women's roster, which we definitely need.
I think you're spot on. You know, for my money, Rousey's almost guaranteed to start going there now, especially with recently Stephanie McMahon talking about, oh, I'd love Rousey in the E. You look at Rousey's career as well. She doesn't want to go back to MMA. She lost her most recent one, kind of in a style that Brock Lesnar did. And she knows if she goes to the E, they're going to utilize her as one of their absolute top-level wrestlers, even in a feud if Asuka does go undefeated again against her. Although, admittedly, I do see what you're saying. At the moment, it does look like her and Charlotte Flair is a rivalry almost set in stone the WrestleMania season. But we'll see.
Definitely. Tom, who made your number 4?
Yeah, well, for my number 4, I've also gone with a female. I've gone with someone who was in the WWE in the past, someone who, you know, historically has done well with the company, has gone elsewhere, went back to the company, went elsewhere again. I've picked Gail Kim. Yeah, for me, when she was there, you know, she was one of the top technical wrestlers they had. Obviously, she ended up moving on because their style at the time was Kelly versus Michelle McCool. What a dream time it was, the women's wrestling then. So now, you know, but they're bringing in the top wrestlers. They brought back Mickie James already. Didn't, for my money, hasn't worked out well so far. And I think that's just because Mickie James can't cut it at the same level that Gail Kim can. Bring back Kim. You've got a number of dream matches that you can have.
You and me have got heat now. Mickie James is an angel. No one will speak badly about Mickie James in front of me. That woman is hella talented.
Mickie James, honestly, I could not disagree with you anymore. Her match at NXT TakeOver against Asuka, I think everyone was looking forward to. What a big match it should have been. She couldn't cut it in the ring anymore. She just can't cut it anymore. Alexa Bliss was trying to cut a heel promo on her, saying she's old. I'm sorry, mate. She is. It's hard to disagree with the heel when she's right.
I mean, old is subjective, especially in pro wrestling. I still feel like Mickie James has got the ability to run. She's got a lot to teach the younger ones. I just wish they'd book her in a fucking match where she looks decent. They've yet to do it. That's kind of, I would argue that a large part of the problem with James over the last like sort of 6 months or so hasn't been so much ability. It's been what they're actually asking her to do. There's been little.
You could be right there, Tisha.
No, I think the debates between Mickie James and, you know, I agree with both of you. Mickie James for me hasn't been brilliant, but, you know, we're not talking about Mickie James, we're talking about Gail Kim right now because she's on Tom's list. Yeah, Gail Kim for me is a fantastic wrestler. She was the first Knockouts champion in TNA. She ran TNA. She's been with TNA, and she does good things for the women's division in TNA. Would I like to see her back in WWE? I think so. Like you said, I think she could have some stellar matches back in the WWE if she's utilized well as she could be now that we're in a different direction to the dark days of previous women's divisions.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the TNA Hall of Fame, there's 5 people in it. One of them's Gail Kim. I think that tells you enough to just the kind of level and standard that she's at.
No, I agree with you. But let's move on from that, and we'll go to Bohan. Bohan, who makes your number 4?
Well, we're all picking females here, so you know. Now that we're on that track, for me, it's Women of Honor's Veda Scott. I've seen a lot of Veda Scott in different places through like Shimmer, Shine, through Ring of Honor. She's came up as a Valley. She's gradually started to show that she has a genuine like sort of ability for the sport. I think Veda Scott would be a great addition to that women's roster. Someone who's already got an interesting dynamic with Maria Kanellis to begin with. Maybe give her an opportunity to actually show off for a bit. I feel like, honestly, it would probably just work very well in terms of sort of inbuilt storylines, familiarity with certain things. but also she's got the ability to work a really high standard women's match, which honestly at points, while there are some women in that roster right now that can do that, you need more. They're throwing out matches there involving sort of Nia Jax and Emma, for example. I don't think Emma's bad, but I think like you really need to get someone kind of a higher quality and a higher name in there so that you can actually pull those people up with them. Nia's gotten better over the last while, but the addition of someone like Beta Scott would really enable them to actually have a decent feud with her. And also if they'd stop pushing her like a monster. And I know they don't really have any other plans for her, but still. Vera Scott would ultimately fit very well into that division, and there's already kind of inbuilt stories for her, so yeah.
No, I think that's a good pick. I mean, like you said, we're kind of on a women's kind of a women's streak here in terms of our picks. I haven't seen enough of her work to say I definitely would have her on my list. She's not made my list, but I can totally see why you'd have someone like that on your list to, like I said, try and improve the women's division and teach the new guys some new things. But going on from that, Claire, who makes your number 4?
I'm bucking the trend. My lady's coming later on in my list. So my number 4 is Kenny Williams. I mainly know him from ICW. I kind of had drifted away from wrestling, kind of late teens, mid-20s, and it was actually going to live shows that got me back into it. And Kenny was one of the first wrestlers I kind of clicked with. And I think he would actually be like a really good addition to the cruiserweight division. At the minute, just flippy shit in abundance. I really enjoy his gimmick, just full of personality, easily likable, and great wrestler. And I think he would be a really good addition.
No, I agree with you. I've seen Kenny Williams a few times at ICW and PWE shows that I've been to. So no, I agree with you. Kenny Williams is a fantastic pick, so I can understand why he's on your list. As it stands, I mean, yes, I'd like to see him in there, and hopefully they can keep the gimmick that he has. It's whether or not WWE will be willing to pay the royalty fees to allow them to use Huey Lewis and use the Power of Love for his entrance theme. That would be an interesting pick, but certainly I can understand why he's on your list there.
Again, yeah, like a guy that we've seen at numerous shows live and never fails to sort of impress me. Like, just genuinely, seemingly quite a likable guy as well. He's got that kind of Nakamura factor. He walks out and people just smile at him. He'd be a great addition to any roster.
Tom, thoughts on Kenny Williams?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I can see that. I've only ever seen him once, and admittedly, I don't remember it too well. So I haven't really got too much to say on Williams, to be honest with you. But hey, sounds like a good pick. Maybe you have to be up in Scotland to really appreciate him.
No, I can understand your point there. Going on from that, we're at our number 3 point. So, Tom, who makes your number 3?
So, again, cheating again, going for another tag team in the number 3 slot. Could have gone higher up the list. Could have been the number 1 on the list, to be honest with you. It's all been a bit competitive up here now. I've gone for one of the best tag teams in the world, one of the hottest tag teams in the world, although, admittedly, incredibly divisive online, I found. I think, without question for me, I would find it very difficult for anyone to argue that Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, should not currently be playing their trade in run-up to a WrestleMania match. They're hugely talented. They've got super kicks for days, guys. Super kicks for days. Left, right, and center. You can't avoid them. So, and the way they get over the crowd, the way their moveset is so quick, fluid. Can you imagine Young Bucks taking on Cesaro? Such a dream. So they've got to be those guys.
Someone who loves the Young Bucks as much as Bohan. People are going to get sick of this.
Me and you, we were starting to heat, but I think you've kind of won me back over at this point. Yeah, I can't argue with the Young Bucks in any way, shape, or form. There's something that just gives me a fundamental joy being able to sing along with Steve Corino and Kevin Kelly going super kicks. I mean, yeah, right on my list. It was number 1.
Oh, there you are then.
Well, I didn't have the Young Bucks on my list primarily because I knew that Bohan would have them on his, so I can totally understand that. So they are a fantastic tag team. Like I said, super kicks and flippy shit for days. The Meltzer driver, I've watched it a few times now, is a finisher that is a thing of beauty. It's crazy. You go, that shouldn't work, but what the fuck, it works. It's beautiful. So totally understand why the Young Bucks are on both of your lists. My number 3, some people don't like him. Some people absolutely love him. I've always been a fan of him. He's in TNA right now. He goes by the name Ethan Carter III, EC3. I liked him when he was a heel, the arrogant, entitled heel that he was. The whole "I'm a Carter, the world needs us." Still keeps the Dixter Carter name. I like him. I've always liked EC3. His promos with the fan interaction. At one point, when it was coming through, you've got the fans chanting, "You can't wrestle." Then he was going, "I disagree. You can't wrestle. I'm very good." And I just like the fact that on the fly, he has an interaction with the fans. I like TC3, and I would love to see him in the WWE. It would just be a nice, entitled heel gimmick. Always seems to work. Gets over with the fans. And so that's for that reason, EC3 makes my number 3.
Do you reckon he's the most improved wrestler in the last 5 years, EC3? Because from being Derek Bateman in NXT, a journey he's taken, the amount he's improved, but it's unreal.
No, I have to agree with you. I didn't bring up his history as Derek Bateman because I hadn't seen any of his work as Derek Bateman in NXT, so it's kind of forgettable there. But, but definitely he's improved.
As Derek Bateman, the only real problem was the gimmick, though. He was always a guy that you could see like the flashes of fluidity. He was able to work. It needed something to actually kind of make him stand out. You're right, definitely the most improved wrestler. Mic skills have came on absolute miles, and E-Sing 3 was an absolute stroke of genius. I almost pissed myself the first time I saw that. I mean, that's a great way to sort of pay tribute to the culture you're walking into, and also a really funny way to pop like lame people like me.
No, I agree. I love EC3, and so that's why he made my list as my number 3. Bohan, who made your number 3?
My number 3 is another one of my Japanese boys. My number 3 is Kenny Omega. I mean, everyone's going to talk about it until the cows come home. But basically, realistically, as far as it goes, Kenny Omega is ultimately one of those talents that you just constantly... He improves and impresses in ways that you don't think are possible. He might well be the single best non-WWE wrestler on the planet right now on a technical level. He even manages to find a way to inject comedy into it. He's just one of those guys that has such a wide, varied skill set. I never tire of watching.
No, like I said, a lot of the time with the NJPW and the ROH, I don't see a lot of it because TNA and WWE. Need to get back into watching ROH and NJPW just so I can have more of a well-rounded outlook on my lists. But certainly I can understand Kenny Omega. The hype that goes with his name is something that can't be ignored, and so hopefully WWE might get a glimpse of him and we might get to see him in the future. So totally understand why he's made your list there. Claire, what do you think of what do you think? Well, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is actually also Kenny Omega. I mean, I feel like I don't even want to talk about it. I want to give everyone a moment of silence to just daydream about the awesomeness that is Kenny Omega. I mean, the man is just fantastic. I mean, we talked about the Young Bucks, obviously fantastic super kicks for days. Kenny Omega, belts for days. The man has had so many titles in New Japan. And I mean, can we just take a second to appreciate first non-Japanese wrestler to win the G1? I mean, The guy is just amazing. I could watch him for hours. See if he went into like a match and it went for 2 hours. I think I could quite happily watch that, and that's why he made my number 3.
No, I can totally understand that. As you and Bohan do wax eloquently on Kenny Omega, so totally understand that. Moving on from there, we are at the number 2 stage, our penultimate picks before we get to number 1. So Tom, who made your number 2?
Absolutely. Just before number 2, can I just say, guys, have you guys seen Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, their little sort of 10-minute match on YouTube?
I remember watching it a long time ago and really enjoying it. Also, as a counter, what's also amazing is him versus Toriano from this year's what do you call it, from this year's G1. That is the finest comedy match I think I've ever seen in my life.
Bringing that kind of style of wrestling would be big time for WWE, taking himself a little bit less seriously. Okay, well, my number 2 then, already been mentioned, to be honest with you. I surprisingly early in the list to me, Ronda Rousey. Rowdy Rousey is a huge crossover star. That's already been said. We know her as one of the biggest names. When on in that WrestleMania moment when The Rock went over and just walked towards her, the crowd erupted. They went insane for just him walking towards her, let alone when she went in the ring and teased the armbar on Steph. Bringing Rousey in, the media attention it would get would be unbelievable. And you know what? You don't need to use her in a massive program. You just need to have her appear in the Royal Rumble for 10 seconds, eliminate someone, and then eliminate herself. Know what? I don't need to compete in this. I'm better than this. And you've got a guaranteed press coming out your ears leading up to WrestleMania, not just from TMZ, but from legitimate sources like the BBC. Everyone will be covering it. It would get all eyes on the product. Honestly, I think it would be insane for the WWE to squander this opportunity to bring in Ronda Rousey.
No, I totally agree with you. Hence, you made my list. But no, I totally, like you said, we've gone on and on about how we think Ronda Rousey should be in the WWE, and like I said, it is all but confirmed. You had a Mae Young Classic, that teasing of the Horsewomen versus the Horsewomen, and without Ronda Rousey there, it's just going to fall flat on its face. So, given the fact they've teased that, you're going to get Rousey there. It's going to happen. It's good. It's just a matter of time before WWE announce that she signed a contract. It's just one of those things. But the sooner it happens, the better. Moving on from that, my number 2. I did cheat a little bit as well. Like you've done, I put a tag team in as my number 2 because I just couldn't separate them. I couldn't put them any different. I couldn't separate them into their individual components. My number 2 are BT Gunn and Chris Renfrew, better known in the independent wrestling scene as the New Age Clique or the NAK. For me, they're one of the best tag teams within the independent wrestling scene in Scotland, if not around the world. I love the NAK. The hand signal, the soundtrack, the way that they are just so brutal and hardcore in their matches. I love the NAK. I'm a massive fan of the NAK. And if Kevin Nash got fit and Triple H was up for it and Shawn Michaels could be teased out of retirement and you get a couple more members of the NAK, New Age Clique versus Original Clique, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've spoke about this before when someone from the NAK has been on your list, James, is that they're not a personal favourite of mine, but that's because I'm on the opposite side of the fence from you and they're doing their job well in that respect. Like, I don't like them, not because they can't wrestle. They're both fantastic wrestlers. I completely appreciate them. I just fucking hate them. But that's them being good heels, so I can completely understand why they made your list.
Bohan, what do you think of my number 2 selection?
Again, what Claire said, it's pretty much a case of I have an inherent vehement dislike for the both of them, but that's because they play that card so well. They have the ability to be quite interesting in that kind of context. They're both great wrestlers, and I want to punch both of them in the face so hard. And I would never take the opportunity to do it. If anyone is listening, I don't want actual heat with the two of them. I'd quite like not to get stabbed. But I mean, yeah, they do their job as heels so fantastically well. I can see where there would definitely be a place for them.
No, definitely. Obviously, because I don't know if you're well known to you, Tom. What do you think of the NAK?
Yeah, not very well known at all. I know a little bit about Renfrew, just based on Botchamania, but yeah, nothing really to contribute in a meaningful way. I do think, however, that Chris Renfrew wrestling Triple H is possibly the biggest never going to happen match I've ever heard in my life. So congratulations on that one.
It would be interesting. Like I said, never going to happen, but it's a dream that might. We can but hope. Bohan, who makes your number 2?
My number 2, you might have more luck talking about this one, Tom. It's Flash Morgan Webster. I feel like that boy has been an absolute gem within the British scene over the last while. Every time I've seen him at Progress, he's been absolutely great. I love the whole mod gimmick thing as well. It's just not something people are doing. He does it so well. He's got a great move set. He works fantastically. He does again come off as a genuinely likable human being. I've got a lot of time for Flash Morgan Webster. He is frankly like one of the few remaining boys I have in Britain that the WWE haven't courted at this stage, as far as I'm aware. I think he'd be an absolutely fantastic addition to the cruiserweight stuff, but I'd rather see him get used in a more meaningful sense. He's still young as fuck and still so talented. It's another kind of Noam Dar situation where you've got someone who isn't really up there in years, but is definitely up there in experience. I feel like they missed an opportunity to put him into the UK tournament, although I think he might have been injured at that stage. I'm not sure. I know he had a pretty major injury. He's a guy that just keeps getting better. Him up before someone else does, realistically, and not end up in a position where it's like Will Ospreay, where they're never going to get him.
No, I can understand that. I mean, I haven't personally heard of Flash Morgan Webster, so I can't contribute as much as Bohan can there. But certainly, if he's as good as you say, then you never know. Maybe WWE are looking at him thinking, maybe not now, but maybe in the if they do another UK tournament for the championship, you never know.
Well, they actually had him in a qualifier against Zack Sabre for the Cruiserweight Championship all the way back in that tournament, Cruiserweight Classic. Him and Zack Sabre had a pretty decent match, which I think you can probably catch on YouTube still.
I'm sure I've watched it as well. It's one of those things as well, though, when it was Zaki Two Belts, I mean, it was no real question who was going through.
Oh, absolutely. The Mod Father didn't have a dream back then.
No, but like at this point in his career, I think it's probably going to come for him sooner rather than later now.
No, I agree. Well, hopefully we get to see him and we get to see what you guys have been talking about, and hopefully those other wrestling fans who haven't seen him yet get exposed to him, and we get to see him play his trade in the WWE, as everyone on the list we're hoping does at some point. Claire, who makes your number 2?
I don't know if this slightly counts as cheating because she has been in the WWE previously, but my number 2 is Leva Bates. For anyone who doesn't know her, you may know her as Blue Pants. I think she's a very underrated female wrestler. I've seen her on NXT. I've seen her on like Shimmer. I've actually even seen her live. She's very good, and she's actually one of those female wrestlers who can kind of inject a little bit of comedy, which you don't see very often. Definitely don't see it in much as in women's wrestling as you do in men's. She's just really enjoyable to watch. I think if they brought her in, she wouldn't be able to kind of do the whole kind of character Comic-Con style thing she does in every match. But I don't think that really matters when you're as good as she is. And I think we've talked about it at great length at this point on here, how much the women's roster needs an injection of talented women. And I think she would be a great addition to the roster at this point.
No, I agree with you, but I also now hate you, Claire, because all that's going through my head is Blue Pants' theme music. So thank you for that.
Sorry, not
Da, 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 da.
That's exactly what's going through my head right now. So thank you for that. But no, I can understand it. I did like seeing her when she was in NXT, and hopefully she gets brought back and we can see more of her, maybe not as Blue Pants, but as Leva Bates. But no, I can totally get where you're coming from. So we've run down from 5 to 2. We've now reached the final point of our list. We're at our number 1 point. So Tom, let's kick off things with our last picks. And who makes your number 1?
Well, I've gone with something insane, and something that I fully accept is probably never, ever going to happen because it's so absolutely ridiculous. But we're doing dream booking here, aren't we? So
We are indeed.
My number 1 I'm going for is something that would bring all eyes on the product in WrestleMania season. Let me put a suggestion out to you there. There's a lot of rumors, isn't there? There's been a women's Elimination Chamber, a women's Hell in a Cell, women's Money in the Bank. There's rumors about a women's Royal Rumble, isn't there? So what about a way to get all the eyes on the product during that Rumble? A surprise entrant. What about a surprise entrant of Zoya the Destroyer? Mean anything to anyone?
I've not heard the name, so.
What if I told you Zoya the Destroyer was the name of Alison Brie's character in Glow?
The phony Russian accent would go amazing in one of those scenarios, although I reckon Alison Brie would end up on her poor little head very quickly.
I mean, that would be the dream. Alison Brie comes out, she's cutting a promo on people, they're cheering because it's Alison Brie, then they're booing, she's slagging them off with a Russian accent. She comes out and just right hooks someone, cuts her head open, then she gets pummeled. You can imagine. TMZ will be all over it. It'd be a national media, international media, almost scandal. People like, what is Alison Brie doing wrestling? It would be absolutely top. It would get eyes on Netflix and Glow. It would work for absolutely everyone. And it would probably be a nice way of leading up to a sort of mixed tag WrestleMania match as well.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I reckon it could work well, and she's actually got some training to her, which is going to help. I mean, it's not quite as bad as sending Drew Carey in like they did in the past. So, I mean, someone who actually has some respect for what it takes to do that, trained by Chavo Jr., I mean, I don't see any reason why it couldn't work.
And you can imagine WWE could get all the old Glow tapes out as well. Like, you know, I do believe they actually own them now. So they could get them all out, put them all on the network, and then get more eyes on that product. I mean, they could just do a whole circular thing. It seems to me exactly the kind of mass media move that they absolutely love nowadays, you know?
No, I can understand with you. I haven't watched Glow myself yet, so I do need to get into
What
watching
are
that.
you doing with your life? End the podcast now. Open up Netflix and watch Glow. For goodness sake, man.
I'm with him. It launched and we binged it in the space of pretty much 2 seconds. It was fucking great.
Yes.
I'm not sure I can talk to you anymore, James.
You know what, Bohan? You know what, Bohan? I'm going to drop an F-bomb as well. It's fucking brilliant. For God's sake, James, get a wiggle on, son. Watch Glow after this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have travestized our podcast by me not watching Glow. I will get on it as soon as I have finished with the podcast. I'll start watching some Glow, and I'll binge it in a couple of days, keep everybody happy, and we can talk about that another time. But for right now,
yes,
we're going through our lists, and we are at our number one. So my number one is a guy who was in WWE before he left WWE, went to Ring of Honor in the independent scene. My number one, he was Stardust, he was handsome, he was ravishing, he was dashing. It is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, for me, WWE dropped the ball. He left because he wasn't getting the creative control that he wanted. He wanted to do different things. He wanted to go back to being Cody Rhodes. They wanted to keep him as Stardust. He felt stifled in a character that wasn't going anywhere. So he left. He went to ROH, joined Bullet Club, is the American Nightmare, has become the ROH champion. He's done so much more in the short space of time that he's been outside the WWE than WWE ever gave him the chance to do whilst he was in that company. I think that he could do so much more if they brought him back, and I would expect WWE to give him so much more if they ever brought him back. I love Cody Rhodes, and hopefully one day we'll get to see Cody Rhodes come back to WWE, be welcomed with open arms, brought back into the fold, and give him some main event status that he truly deserves, given the work that he's put on with ROH right now.
As a counterpoint, though, you literally just said all the reasons why I disagree. You know, like, and all, like, sort of honesty, I get where you're coming from, and if they use them properly, sure, I'd be on board. I don't think Cody ever needs to go back at this point. I think that Cody has found a home in places where people actually see what he's capable of. I think he's better served outside of the WWE system at this stage because they just don't understand him.
Sorry to massively disagree with you again, Bohan, but I think any wrestler and every wrestler wants to be in the WWE. They want to be wrestling. They want to be at WrestleMania. And, you know, even if he's doing better outside at the moment, if they gave him that phone call, he's going to come back. Definitely, definitely. Even if he got used pretty terribly for another year and had to go again, a la Jeff Hardy, I'm sure he would. I'm sure of it.
They did give him that phone call, though. They asked him to come back and do Starrcade with his brother, and he's been pretty clear on the fact that he's not interested.
I mean, yeah, exactly, to do stuff with Goldust. Eventually, they're going to give him the ring and be like, okay, can you do Cody Rhodes now?
Honestly, I'd be happy to never see him back there just out of the fact that I've got so much respect for him as a talent. I'm happy to watch him at Ring of Honor and in places that I actually enjoy him. I just really wouldn't want to see him go back and end up being fucking shoved into the mid-card because there's a boy that deserves to be main event for the rest of the time.
No, I get you guys' points, and like I said, this is dream booking. It might not ever happen. He might decide that he's better off where he is, and he enjoys his time in ROH, and he likes what he's doing with Bullet Club, and does decide he doesn't need to go back. But he made my number one because he was the guy who, when we came up with this topic, he was the very first name that popped into my mind. Who do I want to see back? I want Cody Rhodes back. So that's why he made my number one. But like I said, he might be happy then, we might never see him back, but it's a dream booking. I want to see him back, but it might never happen. I accept that. Going on from there, Bohan, who made your number one?
As I said earlier, but I'm more than happy to elaborate, it's the Young Bucks. I mean, there is no single word in the myriad of dictionaries and thesauruses and languages that exist on our planet that describes the Young Bucks. I mean, amazing comes close, but it's not quite there. Like, the Young Bucks in and of itself should be a synonym for something that is simply just unbelievable that it actually exists. Those two boys have been around for so long. They've been misused by so many different people as well. Like, when they were Generation Me at TNA, they were still a bit green right enough, but I feel like they didn't get the chance to use them. PWG's done the best job probably with them outside of New Japan. Ring of Honor's really found a niche for them with guys like the Briscoes. They're a team that can work with anyone. Yeah, they polarize people, but the reason they polarize people is because it's just something that is not your grandfather's wrestling. Like, yeah, I'll freely admit, quite often it is spot, 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 spot. Like, no break, no rest, no nothing. But when you can see two guys go like that, why would you want them to slow down? Why would you want them to stop? Like, it's just an absolute thing to behold. The matches they had in New Japan over the IWG Junior tag belts were incredible. They made guys like Ricochet and they made guys like Matt Sydal look a little bit lazy. They had a great dynamic with teams like Roppongi Vice. Like, honestly, I don't really feel like there's anything the Young Bucks can't do at this stage other than slow the fuck down, which they, as I said, do not need to. I will happily, if I could only watch one tag team for the rest of my life, I would happily have it be the Bucks. You could set me in front of a TV like in Clockwork Orange with the clamps on my eyes, dropping water into them. I would still be more than happy to continue watching the Young Bucks until my last breath is drawn.
No, I could totally understand that. I knew they'd be your number one, so that's why I didn't pick them on my list. Because, like you said, they're a fantastic team. They are one of the best tag teams in the world right now. Why WWE haven't picked them is anyone's guess. Why they haven't phoned them up and said, do you want to come in? I don't know. Whether or not they maybe have, and they've said, no, we're happy where we are. Who knows? But if we can get WWE to make the Young Bucks an offer, get them to come in, put them on NXT, give them the NXT tag titles, have them drop them at one point, bring them up onto the main roster. You know, there's some awesome tag teams there. The Young Bucks versus the Hardys, the Young Bucks versus the New Day, Young Bucks versus the Shield. If the Shield, you know, that would be, I'd like to see that. They've got almost a myriad of possibilities as to who they could go up against, and they're always going to have good matches, so I can definitely see why they made your number one. Before Bohan implodes or explodes with his adulation of the Young Bucks, we'll move on to Claire. And Claire, who made your number one?
So my number one is the villain Marty Scurll. I think I've spoke before. I'm a sucker for a good heel gimmick, and he has a fantastic heel gimmick. I think the development into that was a really good move, and he plays it so well, and also a fantastic wrestler. I mean, he has worked so hard and wrestled all over the shop. You know, one of the only places he really hasn't wrestled at this point is WWE, and I think if he could keep his heel persona, he would be a fantastic addition to the roster. Another guy that I could watch over and over again. Love seeing his matches, really enjoy his work, and I really do think that he would just be a good addition to the roster, add a little something extra. So that's why he made number one.
I can understand that. I do like Marty Scurll as well. Like I said, he's a fantastic heel, and I do love a good heel gimmick. So yeah, I can totally understand why he made your number one. Tom, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if it weren't for Marty Scurll, the What Culture show would have been an absolute nightmare. It would have been just dross. Completely saved it. A huge talent. I couldn't agree with you anymore.
Just such a phenomenal gimmick as well. Like, I mean, if you can start out as Party Marty and end up being the guy walking in as with the Plague Doctor mask and the Brawley, just going for the old school look at me silent movie villain stuff. Like, that's an incredible range, and he's finally found his calling. has ever made the crossface chicken wing look as vicious as he does.
No, I do like the crossface. Crossface is always, if you can make it look vicious, then it's always good. So now I can understand that. So we've run through our 5s to our 1s, and we had very little in the way of crossover, and it was nice. And we had some good difference of opinion there, so it's always good to have a nice debate. Moving on from that, we're just going to have a quick recap and a preview of the upcoming pay-per-view. So most recently, we had the No Mercy pay-per-view, where we had John Cena versus Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman in the main event. Overall, let's kick it off with Tom again because he's new to the show. Tom, what did you think of No Mercy as a whole?
It's difficult, isn't it? As a whole, it was, I think, a watchable show. I think that it had some matches which were pretty good. It had some matches, for example, Finn taking on Bray. I quite liked that one. I think The Miz did as well as he could. Miz and Jason Jordan should have put on a clinic, but I don't think Jason Jordan would be given much. I think the tag match was top. I just think the moment you got past the women's match, the whole show fell apart for me. And honestly, if I will talk about Roman Reigns and John Cena in a moment, but the whole show as a general, as I say, up until the women's match, I was into it. After that point, really went downhill for me.
Bohan, what did you think of it?
I mean, watch would definitely be the word. I just looked at Claire when that word came out and went, "Yep, that's pretty much right there." It's hard to say. I get that the women's match was probably a bit of a splitter for some people. I enjoyed it personally. I'm not a big fan of women's matches. I'd like them to give people more time, but it at least worked out all right. It all came out not too badly in the wash. But past that point in the show, I could have turned that show off and just never saw the end of it and probably been okay. I mean, the Battle of the Monsters was as all right as it was ever going to be. If it had went a bit longer, it could have maybe been something good. It worked out quite well for Braun Strowman for what it's worth, but for the most part, watchable is probably the right adjective for that show. Again, as you said, with Miz and Jason Jordan, there's two guys that have got the ability to go. They just need to get someone actually talking to them who can fucking put together the match that the two of them should be having at this point. It's as simple as that.
No, I agree with you and Tom. Like I say, it was a watchable pay-per-view. It wasn't as dire as other pay-per-views have been. I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as WrestleMania 9, for example. But it wasn't the best of shows. But like I said, watchable is the best word to describe it. Claire, anything further to add on what you felt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with everyone on this one. It was a bit, like, it was all right. It wasn't the worst, like you said. It wasn't the worst pay-per-view we've ever seen. I thought the cruiserweight match was really oddly placed at second to last. Like, it was kind of odd. Like, I wasn't really expecting it, and it kind of felt like it didn't really fit. I think it's just a personal thing for me, as I've probably explained before. I'm not great with injuries, and Cesaro's teeth mentally scarred me, and that's my main takeaway from the pay-per-view, and that probably says quite a lot.
Oh, no, I have to agree with you. I've showed that to my wife, and we're both like, oh, my God, that's awful. But on a more humorous note, have you seen the T-shirt that they're now selling?
Oh, God.
No, I have not.
So it's a picture of Cesaro with his teeth as they are right now, and they're missing, and they've added lisps to it. So it says Thwith Superman and Cesaro on the back.
They picked that off Kayfabe News because Kayfabe News put that up 20 minutes after it happened. Like, Kayfabe News had Cesaro and 50 Superman.
Yep, and then Cesaro put up a tweet saying, yes, you can really buy this from WWEshop.com. So I do like that they have a sense of humor about the whole situation. But moving on from that, we've all agreed that it's kind of a watchable show. Tonight, for ourselves, around about midnight, you get the pre-show, and then...
James, are we really not going to take the opportunity to beat the piss out of that Roman Reigns match? Because it's going to be cathartic. We really should probably get on to how fucking ridiculous that was, so that demon can get put to bed.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. I will kick off. I need to kick off this. I'm sorry, but 4 AAs doesn't give you a win, but a kick to the nuts does. What the fuck is up with that? So Cena can hit 4 AAs and doesn't win a match, Roman Reigns can hit a Superman punch and a spear and win a match, and Enzo Amore can hit someone with a nut shot and win a match. Do you want to make John Cena's finisher any less powerful or any less impactful? What the fuck are you doing? That was a match that Roman Reigns had no business winning, and they still put him over. That was a match that he didn't deserve to win. It was a match that had shitty build-up. It was a match that nobody fucking wanted to see. It was a match that nobody... And when the person we didn't want to win did win, nobody cared anyway. The guy is getting booed out of a building on a regular fucking basis. Either WWE are completely deaf or just don't give a shit what their fans want and decide not to turn him heel. The only time we're getting a face reaction is when it teases him rejoining the Shield with Seth and Dean, and that's going to happen at TLC. It's a foregone conclusion. But ultimately, I don't even want that. Not even a Shield reunion can get me to accept Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is shit. I'm sick and tired of him. Even if the Shield reunion is a one-off, punt him off of our TV screens, repackage him, bring him out with different ring music, different ring attire, have him different to his Shield persona. Because at least Dean and at least Seth changed what they were doing. Dean Ambrose, different ring attire, different entrance music. Seth, different ring attire, different entrance music, different movesets. Roman Reigns, stale as fuck. He's staler than the bread that I found in my bread bin at some points. He is fucking done. I am sick and fucking tired of Roman Reigns, and the sooner he can be pissed off of our screens and repackaged, the better.
Wow.
Oh, that felt so good.
See, you had to get it out your system. It was good for your soul. I mean, the match was shitty. I really can't add much more. Like, it was just ridiculous. I kind of had a moment where I was like, yes, John Cena's beating the shit out of him. I'm loving this. And then I was like, shit, it's going exactly where I thought it might go. This is fucking ridiculous. But, I mean, let's face it. Let's touch on the Shield thing a little bit more. The only reason they're doing that is because they're grasping at fucking straws in the hopes that putting the Shield back together will give Roman a little bit of shine. But let's face it, all it's going to do is tarnish the other two. No one wants it. No one wants to see him anymore. Please take him off of TV, give us a breather, and bring him back, as you said, repackaged and different. It's like your only hope at this point. Everything you're trying is not fucking working. Please try the only thing that actually makes sense. It still might not work at this point, let's face it, but it's worth trying.
Yeah, like, you say that. A killer job, to be completely honest, at this stage. I don't think there's anything you can do with how much it made me fucking hate him that I'm ever going to turn that corner. Even if he turned him heel, I just don't want to fucking see him anymore. Even if I got a 6-month break from him, be like, oh look, Roman Reigns is back. Fuck, why? Like, that match was ultimately, like, I as a fan of Botchamania and as a fan of OSW and many other sort of similar things, Roman Reigns makes me think of Hawk. Hawk from the fucking Legion of Doom. And that's not a good thing. Hawk's a man who no sells pile drivers. This is the fucking same shit. Watch me hit 3 fucking finishers on this cunt. He's still just going to go boop, back on his fucking feet. Watch me fucking destroy the shit out of this cunt. And you know what's worse about it? Like, his entire offense is punch kicky. It's just punch kicky. That's all it is. There's nothing to him. He doesn't have the ability to really do a great deal. He just throws punches and kicks. That works for some people when they blend it in with actual fucking wrestling moves. But you get to a point where you're just kind of like, motherfucker, Giant Gonzalez had a better range than you. What the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck off my TV.
Oh, God.
Tom, I chime in and get some Roman Reigns hate off your chest.
Look, my main thing is, back earlier this year, you know, John Cena beats AJ Styles, right? In the Royal Rumble, he beats him for his title. And he does it, and it's disappointing, but he hits him with 2 AAs back-to-back. And it's like, you know what? The moment he hit him with that, I said, fair enough. He's made AJ look strong. If you hit your finisher twice in a row, that is always a guaranteed 3 count. A finisher hit twice in a row is a guaranteed 3. If it isn't, fuck the company. Simple as that. Fuck the bookers. Fuck the people who think it makes any sense. Also, a finisher off the top rope. A guaranteed 3 count. If you're just going to piss away that your finisher like that, you don't make Roman Reigns look good. You make it unbelievable. You make it stupid. You make it not make any sense. Fuck Roman Reigns. Fuck the way they're pushing him. If I see that shit again, I swear to God, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's funny as well that you bring up AJ, right? Because I'll be blunt. For the last couple of years, and for the last like 6, 7 years, I'm not exactly fucking John Cena's biggest fan. The man, when he wants to turn up, can do fucking great. A lot of the time, he doesn't want to turn up. But like John Cena put on an absolute fucking clinic with AJ Styles. He did stuff that I'd never seen him do, and I took my hat off to him that night. I was more than happy to see him walk away with that belt because he'd done enough. If there's a guy that I dislike who's willing to go to that length, I'll take my hat off to them. I'll withdraw my statements and shit. He's not that guy. Roman Reigns will never be that guy.
No, I agree. We've all had our say about Roman Reigns. We've all had our cathartic talk about Roman Reigns. And I think with the less we talk about Roman Reigns now, the better. We'll forget about him moving forward for the rest of the show. And for the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about tonight's upcoming pay-per-view on the WWE Network. It's the SmackDown exclusive Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. So I'm going to just run through the matches as I see them on Wikipedia. First match up we've got here is on the pre-show, and it's the team of Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin up against the Hype Bros, Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. For me, this is a match that's been just put together because it's a pre-show. Maybe we're going to see some more teasers of the Hype Bros splitting up, more signs of a Zack Ryder heel turn, but ultimately it's just a way of cementing the Gable and Benjamin's tag team. So obviously this is going to probably be not a squash match, but at least a competitive match that Gable and Benjamin win, and we're going to see the Hype Bros have more seeds of dissension thrown in my opinion, there, if that does happen. Tom, what do you think?
Honestly, genuine question to other people on the panel. Does anybody want to see a feud between Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder?
No. I think you just very succinctly put how I feel right now. Yeah. I don't want to see Zack Ryder anymore. I feel they could do something with them long enough. This isn't the direction to go in if you're trying to actually change how people think about that man.
Yeah, it's just stupid. So, yeah, that's how I feel. Gable, they don't know what to do with Gable anymore, do they? Which is a shame because he's brilliant. So, yeah, it's going to be... I'm not even going to watch it, to be honest with you. Just going to skip the pre-show altogether.
It's like they know at this point that me and Bohan don't watch the pre-show, so they're putting matches on it that we're not interested in, which is quite nice of them. But I mean, this is one that I'm not fussed. I don't care. It's been thrown on there. Just, I don't know, to throw those 4 guys on there. I don't think it's going to. It might be all right. I mean, most of them are pretty decent talent, but nah, I'm not fussed.
I'm probably not going to watch it. There's a part of me that feels like I should make an effort. I feel like they've tricked me into watching the Hype Bros again because they've shoved on Shelton Benjamin and fucking Chad Gable for me. Like, it's almost like they're going, you want to watch it because of those two, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to watch it. Like, it's really difficult for me because I fucking love Chad Gable. I love Shelton Benjamin. I'll happily watch the two of them. Just give me something else. I don't... The Hype Bros needs broken up. If you want people to have any respect for Mojo Rawley, you're going to have to build him in his own fucking right at this point. Just get on with it. Don't shove the two of them back together and hope that you've caught lightning in a bottle at last with the two of them. You've tried it. It didn't really work the last time. No one fucking cares. Get on with it.
No, I can understand that. So, we'll see what happens there. Next match, I'm going to actually pick and choose a little bit here because we've got the main events are pretty interesting. So, next up, Randy Orton versus Rusev. To me, this feud's been done. It didn't need to go anywhere further. I'm not bothered who wins this. Probably going to be Randy Orton. Don't really care.
Yeah, nothing to add, honestly. Just, yeah.
Yeah, snapsies. Like, again, another one that I'm not fussed about and could honestly not be on this card, and I really wouldn't care.
For me, they flushed this one down the toilet when they fucking did what they did to Rusev. I mean, just honestly, why fucking bother? You've already buried the boy. He's already dead. Let him be.
No, I agree with you. You can't bury him any further. Well, maybe if you're Triple H and your shovel's golden, but right now he's probably about as deep as he can get. Next up, Bobby Roode, the Glorious One, goes up against Dolph Ziggler. This one I'm actually quite interested to see. I do like Bobby Roode. I enjoy his work. I love his ring music. They're booking him as a face, and I'm personally finding Ziggler's rhetoric on being better than everyone and ring entrance being as elaborate as they are isn't necessary. You just need to be a good wrestler. I do like his rhetoric. It's interesting. It works well as a face, as a heel. Sorry. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But ultimately, I reckon Bobby Roode's going to get the win there.
I feel like ultimately with Ziggler, what they've done is we've tried going in other directions. Let's just go back to the show-off gimmick because it's what worked, which is fair enough. I feel like that type of gimmick always really worked for a guy like Dolph Ziggler because, I mean, he does like sort of embody that like overly hyperactive, like very athletic style. Of course, he should think he's better than everyone. He is usually right when he says it. I mean, I'm quite happy to see this put together. I reckon you're going to get a real interesting mesh of styles out of the two of them as well. I'll be interested to see how this match goes. This is one of my picks for potential match of the night if it's done well.
Honestly, for me, recently, Dolph Ziggler has not been showing up. He hasn't been showing up since they tried to give him a go for the title almost last year. And seriously, I think Ziggler's just going to put on another stinker and it'll just be another nail in the coffin of his dwindling career at the company.
I feel like if anyone can wake him up, it is possibly sort of, Bobby Roode at this stage. If anyone can kind of slap him back into consciousness, that's maybe it.
You could well be right. But I just, right now for me, I just can't see it happening for him. And I think the sooner he leaves the company and does a Cody Rhodes, the better.
Yeah, I like both of them. I kind of have quite high hopes for this match. I could be completely wrong and I could have my dreams shattered and it ends up being terrible, but I hope not. I think the potential's there with both of them for them to have a good match with each other. So I hope they do. I do think Bobby Roode's going to come out on top. But yeah, I guess it's kind of one of those ones that we're just going to have to wait and see, I think. And I know this like that with all the matches, but I think it's quite a tough one to say whether it's going to be good or not. It's really 50-50.
No, I completely agree with you. It's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully it'll be good. Next match, Natalya goes into the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view as champion, defending her belt against Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. It's a rehash of what happened at NXT. It's the Flairs versus the Hearts once again. We're going over old ground. For me, she went away. She come back after looking after her dad. She's had come back to a hero's reception. I think either Natalya's going to win through, a dirty finish, nefarious means, or Charlotte's going to win it clean. I can't see Natalya winning it, but what we always have to remember is you always have Carmella standing back there with the Money in the Bank contract. So who knows? Maybe this will be the night that she cashes it in. But for me, I'd either see Natalya winning dirty pin or Charlotte winning clean.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about the briefcase. I had completely forgotten Carmella had that.
No, and that's the thing about the briefcase. A lot of people do seem to forget it, even with guys who the men who have it. They have it for a couple of months. They keep teasing it, and then even though they're coming out with it, you forget that they have it. And then when they finally do come around to cash it, you go, "Oh, holy shit! I forgot they had that briefcase." And that sometimes adds to the impact of them cashing it in. Whether or not they're hoping that happens when Carmella cashes in, who knows? But I can totally get where you come from because I've done that a few times with the men's briefcase. Completely forgot they had one, and then they come and get that some way to having the impact that they want when Carmella does cash in. Whether that's tonight, who knows? But for me, I think it's either going to be Natalya dirty or Charlotte clean.
I've got to say, I think that Charlotte's almost guaranteed to win this one. I don't think there'll be any other title changes. So with that in mind, I think she has to win this one effectively. And then it becomes quite easy booking at that point. Sell the story that you've just been saying about her dad. Charlotte Flair, homecoming, big moment. She wins the title. FABULOUS. Yes. Bang. Boos abound. Seems pretty much locked in for me. I'm actually calling the cash in tonight as well.
I was going to call the cash in, but I've called it more than once incorrectly at this stage. So, I'm trying to be careful about that shit, but I think you're right. Honestly, this match has been put together because they put that belt on Natalia. They thought they'd do something with her. They went, shit, we don't actually know what we're doing here. And now Charlotte's back. They're like, just stick it on Charlotte. I kind of feel like this might be the opportunity for the cash in, but I feel like this match is transparent in their complete lack of faith in Natalia, which is really sad because she has the ability to be better. Just give her something to actually fucking work with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Charlotte that takes it. I don't really know about the cash in. I don't know what I think about that. I mean, potentially it makes for a good story and it would be quite good to see, but I think they like Charlotte as the golden girl, and it's been quite a while since they've had her as that, and coming off the back of being away looking after her dad and stuff, I think it's a good time to put her back in that spot for them, and they seem to quite like her in that spot. So yeah, I think Charlotte will win it. Cash in, I'm hedging my bets on that one. I don't know.
No, we'll see what happens tonight. Next match, we've got AJ Styles defending his US Championship against Baron Corbin. I've been kind of giving my opinion on this one, so I'll let someone else kick it off. Tom, what do you reckon is going to happen there?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where it is a bit 50-50. I do think it's going to be a retain, as I said before, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went Corbin's way. I think the build has been abysmal to this, if I'm completely honest with you. I've seen a couple of people praise him, but I just... I still feel like I don't know what Baron Corbin's point is. I don't know what I'm meant to feel about him. And all I think, again, I still feel all we're meant to think about AJ Styles is he's an indie darling, he's a legend, he's da-da-da, he's da-da-doo. And yeah, he has great matches, but, I just don't care. And maybe it's just because I don't care about the United States Championship, but personally, not really interested in this one.
See, I think they've got the big old shovel out for Corbin at the minute. I think with like the way he lost the briefcase and the kind of rumors of his attitude backstage and stuff like that, I think they're kind of just looking to bury him as much as they can at this point. I just automatically think it's going to be AJ in this one. And I think it's just going to be a clean, decisive victory for AJ.
You say shovel, they got the JCB out and tried to hand deliver that man to Satan himself. It's pretty obvious at this point that they've already given up on him. They wouldn't have put the briefcase on him and ripped it off him like that so unceremoniously if that wasn't the case. I don't really see them putting him over AJ fucking Styles at this point. Like that's like trying to put it's like trying to put Ellsworth over AJ. Occasionally shit like that might happen, but there's still got to be a line you draw when you look at it and you kind of go, nah, this is kind of clear cut for me, honestly. I reckon AJ in probably about 12, 13 minutes, they'll maybe try and make Baron look a bit better than they made him look after fucking dropping the briefcase to him. But what does it say about AJ Styles if he loses to the man who lost to Jinder Mahal with the fucking briefcase?
No, I can understand that. Would completely, like you say, it would completely mean fuck all if he did win it. And I get where you're coming from there, especially with Tom's opinion as well. What is Baron Corbin's point? Yeah, I mean, he, like AJ Styles said, he's the king of shortcuts. He's doing okay in terms of his heel work. His mic work leaves a lot to be desired. He has a nice looking finisher. I like the deep six. It's a nice spin out, and then the end of days is nice to look at. But ultimately, it's just, yeah. I prefer his original entrance music with the motorbike and the spotlights coming out. I like his old. I don't like his new entrance music anyway. But that's a what's the word I'm looking for? A cosmetic change rather than anything in the ring. But I don't really care if Baron Corbin loses. That's great. It's for AJ's career. It means he's stronger than that. And like you said, he's pretty much done Baron Corbin, so I can't see AJ losing that. Next up, we have got Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. And as always, Jinder Mahal will be flanked by the Singh brothers. Bohan, what do you think of this one?
Sorry, was that just thrown to me there?
Yeah, so back to you. What do you think of Shinsuke versus Mahal for the title?
They're my bad. You mentioned Jinder Mahal, and I just fucking fell asleep, basically. I mean, if they get the belt off him, fine. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. I want to see him do something. I want to see them make something of Shinsuke Nakamura. He's a man that I've followed the career of for quite a long time, and I've very, very much enjoyed. But I don't want to see Jinder Mahal anymore. He's done nothing for the belt. He's done nothing with the belt. He's had a very sort of blasé fucking run, and he's spouted what must be the most racist thing that's been spouted on WWE TV in a long time when he called him Mr. Miyagi. Like, I honestly, if their job was to make me dislike him as a person, they've done a great job, but they've not done a great job of making me dislike him as a character. I just don't really give a shit. I've seen the Singh brothers pop out from everywhere at this stage. It's transparent and it's dull. I get that your first run as a heel with a belt tends to be very sort of dirty win after dirty win, but at least when you're doing that, you actually go to the hassle of getting creative. I mean, like when it happened with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, it was getting like sort of more and more ridiculous and more pushy every time. It's just the Singh brothers pop up, distract someone, and he hits them with that god awful fucking finish that doesn't look like a finish.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, look at the way Miz and Maurice did it for Miz retaining. It was creative every time. It was entertaining, and it worked. And
I agree with you. No, go ahead. I was just saying I agree.
Okay, I was just going to say, for me, the only way this is going to work in a way that I'll enjoy it, because let's be real, the thing that's really annoying is, as a wrestling fan, we know this won't be a good wrestling match. That's what's really annoying. It's the WWE Championship, and we all know it's going to be a shit match. So what else is there to say? Honestly, what else is there to say? We know it's going to suck, and Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be in a shit match. I mean, God almighty, how badly can WWE do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say the same thing. I always say when it's a Jinder match on a pay-per-view, I want Jinder to lose the belt. I don't like him having the belt. He's done nothing with the belt. I mean, my monotone here really describes how I feel about Jinder.
Yeah.
Before we came on the call, I'm sorry to bring up the name again, but I said to Bohan and James, he's essentially becoming the Roman Reigns of SmackDown. I don't want to see him. I really hate the belt on him. He's doing fuck all with it. He's really, like, just tarnishing the belt at this point. You need somebody good to bring credibility back to that belt. And I mean, who better than Nakamura? I think most people at this point would like to see Jinder lose the belt and Nakamura have the belt. And if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be really pissed off.
No, I agree with you. One thing I do have to notice, though, we've all seen the Attitude Era. We've seen the WWE do some really outrageous shit, including a necrophilia angle, and the crowd don't say anything. When the crowd tell you that's too far, you've really gone and fucked up.
I mean, I don't know who thought that calling him Mr. Miyagi was just going to be a wonderful little callback to the Attitude Era, especially in the political climate that exists in the States right now. But the second it came out of his mouth, you just felt yourself sinking down into the deck, just going, oh dear fuck, don't tell me this is where we're going back to. Like, it represented everything that was wrong about wrestling in that period, just it coming out of his mouth. And a lot of people are like, well, people keep saying they want the product to be more edgy. Yeah, there's a difference between the product being more edgy and outright racist. They're two very separate things.
No, I agree with you, and like we've all said, the sooner Jinder Mahal loses that title, the better, and hopefully it's tonight at Hell in a Cell. I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't a Hell in a Cell match, given that it's for the WWE Championship, but
and you know
they probably didn't want to make
brothers keep interfering in every single match, so this might actually be some legitimate reason to have Hell in a Cell, other than the New Day just going, "Shall we have it in a cell?" Yes.
I know, it's one of those things.
I wonder, though, if the reason they haven't put it in the cell is because he's going to lose and then the Singh brothers aren't going to interfere. Because if there's one thing we all know as wrestling fans at this stage, it's the second you introduce a stipulation that's meant to prevent someone from getting involved in a match, they will be involved in a match.
Yeah,
that is very true. But moving on from that, we're going to go on to talk about the two Hell in a Cell matches that we have. First off, we're going to talk about the New Day versus the Usos for the Tag Team Championships inside a Hell in a Cell match. Obviously, it's still being defended under the Freebird rule, so it's only going to be two of the New Day inside the cell against the Usos. But given the fact that this is the mandatory rematch, if you will, that the Usos have had, I can't see them playing hot potato with the title for much longer. So for my money, I would say that the New Day keep the belts in. Given the fact that they had an absolute barnstormer of a street fight, I could see this one, like I said, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler could steal the match, but I think that this one could be the match of the night. They've had some stellar matches along their lengthy feud, and hopefully if this one is the end of their feud, it is the match to end all matches, and hopefully it is the match of the night. I think it could be, but I think the New Day are going to retain.
You know, you've got 2 Hell in a Cell matches of this event. One of them makes sense, and one of them doesn't. Remember when Sasha and Charlotte were going to have that Cell match last year, and you had all this build-up. You had Mick Foley doing an in-ring interview with them both going, you don't understand the damage it does to you. You don't understand the damage a Hell in a Cell does to your career, your mental state, all of this stuff to sell the structure and how important it's meant to be. How did we get to this Hell in a Cell match? The New Day just went, we literally just said, let's have it in a cell. I mean, way to bury your own stipulation and how important it's meant to be. I can't be any more angry about this. It's such a stupid thing to do. They're so inconsistent. And I think I'm just going to hate this match just because I'm so angry about the fact it's in a cell at all.
Isn't that why they kept talking about the Russo Penitentiary, though? That's what I've taken away from this, that like the only reason it's in a cell is because they keep talking about them being in their jail. Like, it's a tenuous link, I grant you. It's still not a great build-up. There is at least something there, I suppose. I just don't think they knew what they were doing with the tag division right now, and this is just kind of where we've came to as a result. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you'll get a great match out of them, and I think to come back to that point that James made, it's being defended under the Freebird rule. It's only 2 of them. It's Hell in a Cell. It's going to be all 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know fucking well, regardless of what happens, someone is going to be on the outside of that cell at the start of the match and on the inside holding a fucking trombone at the end of it. You know, like it's going to be all 3 of them. That's a given because we have a stipulation that's meant to prevent it being all 3 of them. But it's going to be probably quite a good match. Quality-wise, I can imagine it going quite well. I would like to see the Usos just kind of and stomp see the New Day, just kind of surround and stomp the Usos into oblivion. They've had a good feud. It's time to end it. Let the New Day be what everyone wants the New Day to be right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
Claire, what do you think?
I mean, before Bohan said it, I was kind of thinking along the same lines, is that this just shows that they have no idea what they're doing with their tag team at the minute. I feel like their tag team division as a whole, I really don't think they know what they're doing, and this is why they just continue in this feud on and on and on, and it's ended up here just cause. I think New Day will retain. I think you're right about not hot potatoing it too much. I'm holding out and hoping it's good. They have had good matches between them. I think, Bohan said it. That third person's getting in that ring. By hook or by crook, it's happening. It could be interesting, but it's not a match I'm overly fussed about seeing again. But hopefully it surprises me and it's pretty good.
Yeah, it will be interesting. But like I said, we're going to see that tonight. And finally, we come to what has been billed as the main event, in which it's a double stipulation match, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon, in not only a Hell in a Cell match, but a Falls Count Anywhere Hell in a Cell match. So people are going out of the cage, someone's falling off of the cage, I don't know who that might be, and I reckon Shane McMahon is probably going to win one of the feuds he has, or Kevin Owens is just going to beat the fuck out of Shane McMahon, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know where that's going. It could go either way. Hopefully it's a good match, and if Kevin Owens can get a good match out of Shane, it would be nice to see. But I don't honestly know who's going to win this match. It's too close to call for me, just where it's been going throughout the week. So hopefully it's going to be a good match. Obviously, we've got double stipulation where it's Falls Count Anywhere as well as Hell in a Cell. So we're going to have people come. They're going to be out of the cell eventually, and they're going to be battling around the arena. But then someone's going to fall off a cell and win the match.
I mean, for me personally, maybe this is something other people will disagree with. Bohan kind of disagreed with me a little bit when I spoke about it earlier on today. I'm of the personal opinion that it's 2017 and we need to stop having McMahons in wrestling matches. I am sick of it. I don't want to see them. I'll give Shane his dues. He seems to have trained at least a good bit, and he has done quite well. But give that spot to a talent on your roster who is actually there to fucking wrestle. Stop putting Shane McMahon in fucking main event matches like that. It's really getting annoying for me. I really hope Kevin Owens wins it. Shane can do a decent match, but I would rather, as an authority figure, he had someone on the roster to do his dirty work for him, because then at least you're using your wrestling talent rather than having someone who is not a wrestler taking the main spot, essentially, on a pay-per-view. But that is just my opinion.
At this point, I said it earlier when we were talking about this feud as well. Like, we have kind of missed a fair bit of the weekly TV lately, but we do keep up with This Week in WWE, and we try and at least make sure we're seeing the shit that's going on so we know what's building into it. I mean, at this point, Kevin Owens has a point. I mean, if you're Shane McMahon, it's real difficult to argue that you haven't screwed him at least once in this fucking feud. I hope that Kevin Owens beats the living shit out of him. I basically hope it's a murder, to be quite frank. I hope that this is Kevin Owens absolutely lamping the ever-loving fuck out of Shane McMahon the entire way through this. It's a weird book. Why would you book a Falls Count Anywhere Hell in a Cell match? Because when you book a Hell in a Cell match, people want to see the cell get used. I mean, I suppose it allows you to have someone pinned just outside of the cell or on top of the cell like Jericho once did to Triple H. But the point still remains that they're two weirdly incompatible sort of stipulations. It feels kind of like they just wanted to make this slightly different, but they didn't know where to go with it. I don't disagree with you entirely on the idea of McMahon's not being involved in in-ring matches. I'm happy to have them involved. I'm happy to have even Shane come out with a chair and do his own dirty work if they're going to go heel with him. But I think we've seen enough. We've seen what Shane McMahon can do. Well done, son. You've had a couple of decent wrestling matches. You're not a wrestler. I've seen enough of you. I know you can do certain things. I saw you do a shooting star press. I was very impressed even. But I think we've had enough. I think it's probably time for Kevin Owens to just fucking murder him.
Tom, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with what everyone's saying, to be honest with you. I think that the only thing that could possibly make sense for Falls Count Anywhere, it means that, honestly, I would say this, you don't need to say Falls Count Anywhere. Hell in a Cell match, you could just do a pin outside and no one's going to turn around and go, hang on a second. It only makes sense if you're going to say, we're going to do a pin literally outside like we did in the build-up on SmackDown. Although, it does mean you're almost certainly going to get a moment like Owens throws Shane off the top, crashes through an announce table, Owens climbs down and covers him, only for Shane to kick out at 2 4/5 for the biggest pop of the entire show. This is what I do think about the match. I don't understand why they are possibly traipsing out Sami Zayn in the build-up for this one, unless they've got him in mind. And this is just dream booking, and I'm just going to dream at this point because I think this show has the potential to be an absolute stinker. It would really turn around if Sami Zayn turns heel, helps out Kevin Owens to beat Shane McMahon. Imagine Shane O'Mac hits that massive elbow off the top, puts Owens through the table this time, rather than how Undertaker dodged it, and then Sami Zayn breaks it up to help Owens win. I mean, that would be proper telly. I would be into that.
I mean, for what it's worth, I completely agree with you. Sami Zayn reminds me of a man that Kevin Steen once tagged with, some weird Mexican dude that apparently works in like an orphanage now called El Generico. Like, I think there's probably like enough to justify that teaming would work on those kind of grounds, you know? I think that it could be quite interesting to see, and Steen Erico was one of the highlights of Ring of Honor for a lot of that run for me. I'd be happy to see the two of them do that as heels this time, and to see like Sami Zayn finally sort of try and carve a place out for himself, because this whole nice guy heel thing, nice guy face thing, rather, I don't mind it, but they don't know what to do with it. You've got to carve your own space out at this stage, because creative have given you a gimmick and they don't know what the fuck they're ever going to do with you.
Yeah, see, now you've set me up for a giant fall, because now if I don't get that ending, I'm going to be really upset.
Yeah, sorry. If you look at the way SmackDown went down, he was the promo between Zayn and Owens. It's classic what they've been doing for the however long now. That moment where Owens is like, "Look, all I've done, what you have done. Look how you've done nothing. Look how you've done nothing." And then Zayn's like, "I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it the proper way." It's just setting the stage for me for that turn. And if we get it, then it saves the show.
No, I agree with you. It would be nice to see. I'd like to see Sami Zayn do a heel turn. But hopefully, what we see happen, what we want to see happen does happen. It all goes down tonight on the WWE Network. Pre-show kicks off at 12 a.m. in the morning, and then the main show from 1 a.m. I might not stay up for it. I might catch it tomorrow. But, it's one of those ones where you don't know whether or not to stay up for it, or if it's going to, do I watch it, do I not? Is it worth it? But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be worth it, me staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning this time. I'll probably catch it tomorrow. I might regret not staying up, but, it's one of those things. But no, certainly we've done our top 5. We've ran down No Mercy and the show. Oh, go ahead. So before we go,
For what it's worth, at the very least, it's got the potential to be better than the last few SmackDown pay-per-views as a card. But then again, so has just putting a dumpster on fire on TV for 3 hours. So make it up what you will.
If Shane McMahon wins tonight, then I'm not going to watch anything until the Rumble. I'm just turning it off. So, bear that in mind.
We stopped watching the weekly stuff. We haven't watched it in a couple of weeks, and do you know what? It's actually been quite nice. I've quite enjoyed my entire weeknights not being shitty booked wrestling.
No, I agree with you. I can totally understand where you're coming from there. I do still watch Raw and SmackDown. I even watch TNA from time to time. Mainly I watch 205 Live and NXT. Obviously, that's one thing we haven't talked about in a while. We'll have to talk about some NXT stuff coming up soon in the next few episodes. But certainly I think now's a good time as any to close out the show. So it's a good night from me.
Super kick for me.
Night from me.
If Shane O'Mac wins, we riot.
From Tom and from all of us at Talking Trash, we will catch you at episode 12. Good night.
Cheers.